welcome or welcome back. My name is Freya. I'm a knitter living in Glasgow, Scotland with my wife Karina and my two cats Kiska and Nanook. Welcome if you're new and welcome back if you've been here before. So as you can see by the title, this is going to be a knitting plans video. I really like doing these videos and I thought it would be interesting and a different take for me to do a realistic one, because I think in the past I've definitely picked a lot of patterns and then not done a lot of them. So I really tried to challenge myself and tried to boil down all of my ideas into what I actually genuinely think I'll be able to knit. So I thought that would be interesting, and also interesting for me to see if I actually managed to do it, because I feel like I've made it manageable, but again, we'll see. So a couple of borrowed bits. I will have links to everything in the description, as well as timestamps, so you can jump to certain parts if you're more interested in those. I have my Ravelry wish list if you want to give me a pattern and support the channel that way. That would be amazing. I think that's pretty much it. I feel like I just want to jump straight in to this one. So let's start with a pattern that's not out yet, which I feel like is a really annoying thing to do, but I'm going to do it because it's my pattern. So first of all, thank you so much for such a warm reception to my announcing of my first knitting pattern design. It's currently in testing, which is very exciting, and it's very strange and exciting though to see people knitting it up and swatching and stuff, like especially because I've had the idea and this whole process started many months ago, so it feels like, yeah, it's crazy to have it actually, you know, deep into the process now and seeing people make it. So yes, I knit my first sample, which is the bright green one, but I also wanted to knit another sample in another size. So I'm knitting Karina's size, and I have already started, and I'll show you how far I've gotten. So this is, getting tangled, this is again Ching Fibre yarn, as the, I'm so tangled, as they kindly sponsored my first design. So this is the plain undyed DK organic merino, and this is their Suri silk lace in the colourway The World Is on Hold. It's a very subtle speckled, it reminds me of koi fish because it's kind of orange and black. The lighting is awful today, so I've actually got my ring light on for the first time and I've got the blinds all the way up so all of my neighbours can see me, but hopefully the lighting is okay. So those are the yarns that I'm using, and this is how far I have gotten. So I joined in the round yesterday, and yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. You know, it's basically my perfect jumper. I designed it that way, so I feel like I don't really have anything bad to say because it's my pattern and I wrote it the way I liked it. But yeah, so I'm going to knit until I finish this ball on the body, and then I'm going to start on the neck and probably do the sleeves and then go back to the body. But there's not really much to say about this, again, because the pattern's not out and I feel like that's a very annoying thing to do, but I just wanted to show that because that is one of my knitting plans, or it is something that I'm already doing even. So that's a very quick showing of that. And moving on to the knitting patterns that I want to knit from other designers now. So I guess we'll jump into, I'm just looking at my laptop here with my Ravelry bundle. There's 3 jumpers, a scarf, a cowl and 2 socks. So again, I feel like that's doable, but we'll see. So let's go into, I think, the one that I'm itching to cast on the most. Okay, just getting my yarn out for my next knitting plan. So my next knitting plan is the Zipper Sweater by Petite. So I have knit this once before, but it was for Karina, and I am very jealous. I really wanted it. Like when I cast it off and I blocked it and I gave it to her, I was just like, can we share it, because I love it, but I want my own. And so it's always been a plan of mine to knit since I cast that off. Can't remember when I knit that. It was probably this time last year, if I was to guess. So yeah, it's been a while in my brain that I've wanted to knit this. My cats are fighting, amazing. So yes, I'm going to knit it out of the same yarn because I really like the material and I really enjoyed knitting it. So for my version, I am going to use Drops alpaca silk and Drops Lima, which again is the same yarn that I use for Karina's, and I really enjoyed it. I think I've had this in my stash for quite a while now. I cannot remember at all what I wanted to knit with it when I bought it, but I got it in one of the Drops like alpaca sales a while ago. And then I got this, the second strand of Lima in the Drops alpaca sale just there, because I had the perfect amount of the Drops alpaca silk to make the zipper sweater, so I just decided to use this and get the same colourway in the Drops Lima. I think they're a pretty nice colour. It's probably blowing out a little bit because I've got my ring light and my blinds all the way open, so yeah, I apologise for that, but I think it's a colourway light beige. I could be wrong, but again I'll link it all in the description anyway. So I definitely think this is going to be my next cast on after I finish Karina's Southside Sweater, just because it's coming into the weather now. Like, to me it feels like we're kind of just skipping straight to winter. Maybe that's just me, maybe I'm being dramatic, or maybe my house is cold and my heating's not great. But yeah, I feel like I need this. Like, I'm watching Karina wear hers and I just want my own. So super excited about that. I guess, what will we go to next? Let's do an accessory, which has also been on my knitting plans for a while. Someone very kindly gifted me that pattern, or this pattern, so thank you, you know who you are. And so my next knitting plan is going to be the Berlin scarf. I need glasses and I don't wear glasses for my video because of the glare and stuff, so I'm trying to read this and it's quite hard. The Berlin scarf by Suzanne Muller. I have wanted to knit this ever since I seen like the first Instagram post that she put up, and I have a yarn in my stash that is kind of perfect, and you know, when I saw the scarf I was like, oh, I can knit that because I've already got it in stash. So I have knit this yarn that I ripped out from something that I started, so it is kind of all in like balls of random sizes, but it is the Drops Air in the colourway I don't know. I got this a long time ago. I originally used this yarn to knit one of my favourite things knitwear jumpers, but I don't know what it's called. They're all so similar, but it was a chunky sort of mesh sweater, and I loved that pattern. As soon as it came, like, I bought it the same day it came out, but as I was knitting it I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Like, I'm not really a lace knitter, and it was kind of like a very simple lace, I suppose, and I just got kind of bored and burnt out. And I also didn't love the colour because I used this yarn held with another strand of Drops yarn. It was Drops Flora, but the colourways didn't really match that well, and it sort of ended up looking muddy and just a bit blah. So I kept that on my needles for a long time thinking maybe I'll get back to it. I really like the design, maybe I'll get back to it, but I just didn't. And in the end, I just decided to rip it out because it was making me feel really guilty having it just like sitting around. But then when I seen that pattern, the scarf pattern, I thought that would be perfect to use this yarn for. I think it calls for a bulky, and I think this is bulky. Either way, I definitely think I'll hit gauge, and it's a scarf, so I don't really need to hit gauge anyway. So long as I like the fabric, it'll be fine. So I'm just going to use one strand of this for the scarf, and I've got a good amount. I think I've got just the right amount of meterage for like what she calls for, but I'm just going to knit it until I run out of all the yarn. So however long that'll be is however long that's going to be. And I'm really excited to make that. I've not had like a big long scarf since I was probably like 15, it feels like. Since then I've either not really worn scarves, or it's been like, well, that's a lie because I wear the Sophie scarf, only I made it into the size of the Sophie shawl, which I guess is a scarf, so I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I wear it, like I wrap it and I wear it as if it's a cowl, if you know what I mean. But I feel like with this, it's going to look like a proper chunky long scarf, which I'm very excited about. I love that aesthetic, and I feel like one of my coats, like I can't remember what it's called now, that's going to really annoy me, but basically I have two coats and I feel like they'll both go with this. And I love when an outfit is just like a coat and a scarf, and it just sort of, it's so easy because that is the outfit, if you know what I mean. I feel like I described that really weirdly there, but anyway, so yes, that is going to be probably my next cast on. Both of them are kind of on chunky needles as well. I feel like I'm in that kind of a mood at the moment where I kind of want fast knits, and I feel like both those projects are. So I guess let's move on to a project that's on smaller needles, and it is another jumper. It's the Farnham Sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl. Again, I have wanted to knit this since she first started posting pictures on her Instagram of it. I think the design is so clever. I love the way the stripes fall on the shoulder. I think it's so clever. I think as a designer, she is so clever. She knows what she's doing and she makes a really good pattern. It's very wordy, but at the same time, you know, you can kind of skip past that, and you know, if you know what you're doing and you've done jumpers before, you kind of don't need that, but you're able to sort of jump to the parts that you do need, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a Farnham Sweater. Let me get the yarn here. So again, this is yarn that I had in my stash that originally I got for something else, but I don't want to buy any more yarn, and yeah, I kind of want to use what I have, because I say recently, it was like quite a while ago now, I went through all of my yarn and I put it into vacuum seal bags, and that's how I store my yarn on. And ever since then, I've sort of had a grasp on how much yarn I have, and it's quite a lot. A lot of it is like not sweater quantities though, so it's kind of awkward amounts, and it's quite hard to find things to make with it, but I do have some sweater quantities and this is one of them. So let me try and get some skeins that I've not caked up yet, and I will show you. So the Farnham Sweater obviously is a striped sweater. So for the main colourway, I have these two yarns here. Now they're not a perfect colour match, which I'm a bit mad at. This is the Ching Fibre Fjord in the colourway Peanut. This is like, I would say, a light fingering. Yeah, it's 466 meters per 100 grams. It's 80% lamb's wool and 20% nylon, but it's a non-superwash. This is advertised as a sock yarn, and I've used it to knit socks with, and I love it. I used it to knit the Cool Stitches socks. I'm actually going to talk about them later, so yes, I will talk about them later. And I really like those socks, they're some of my favourite socks. And I'm holding it together with Drops Kid Silk. Not sure what the colour, I think the colour is chocolate maybe. But yeah, I'm going to hold these together for the main colour. So for the Ching Fiber Fjord, I've used it once before, actually for what I'm wearing, which I've not spoken about. This is the Elizabeth blouse by Petite. It's again Ching Fiber Fjord held with Drops Kid Silk. And I really like the fabric. It creates, yeah, really nice fabric. I've not worn this a massive amount, so I can't tell you how it's worn. I can tell you how my socks have worn, and they've worn really nicely. Like, I have a lot of faith in this yarn that it's going to hold up. Well, I don't know if that's because of the nylon maybe, I'm not sure. But it is relatively soft, I would say. And it holds the shape really nicely. Like, I feel like once you block it, you kind of have the shape. And it's kind of hard, like, it feels like it's not pulling out of shape. So yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that. I think it's just to say that I like the fabric that it creates. Oh, no, the thing that I was going to say is the colourways on the website don't necessarily look the same in real life. So yeah, it was kind of hard to match these colourways up. I bought this and this, I think, kind of at the same time, and I just bought a sweater quantity of both, knowing that I was going to hold them together. I don't actually think I had a plan for it, but I think maybe both of them were on sale or something like that, so I thought I would just grab it whilst it's a bit cheaper and then decide what to do with it. But I have quite a large sweater quantity, like I got a lot for like an oversized jumper or something like that. So I've kind of been holding on to it for a project that will use up all of the yarn, if you know what I mean. But that project hasn't come along, so I've decided just to use it for this, and then whatever I have left over, I'm sure I can find something, you know, maybe I could knit a lot of socks, who knows, but yes, I'm deciding to just roll with it. So for the stripes, again, I'm using a Drops Fjord, no, Ching Fiber Fjord and a Drops Kid Silk. This is in the colourway Lace, and I think this is in the colourway Light Beige. This is actually from my granny's stash, and so the colours don't match, but I think it'll be fine. Like, I think once it's knit up into stripes, it'll not be that noticeable. They'll sort of mix together, I feel like. So these are the colours together, which I think is going to be interesting. It reminds me of, like, is it Neapolitan ice cream? It kind of reminds me of that. But yeah, I think the colours will play nicely off each other. I've not done a swatch with all these colours yet. I should probably do that. But I know what my gauge is with this combination of yarn, and it's vaguely similar to the Farnham Sweater, but that's fine. I'm okay with, like, rejigging some things and patterns if my gauge isn't quite there, and I really like the fabric, so I'm just going to go for it with these yarns, and that's what I'm going to make mine out of. I should probably knit a swatch and see if I like it. I think I'm going to like it. I think it'll be fine. I don't think it would be my first choice if I was choosing the colours for the Farnham Sweater now, but I would still wear these colours, so I'd rather do that than buy a whole other sweater quantity, especially because it's like a lace mohair held with another yarn, so it's, you know, off the bat going to be a bit more expensive. So that is the Farnham Sweater, and now I will move on to my next plan, which, let's just jump into a accessory. Forgot the name for it, amazing. I guess we'll jump into the Cool Stitches socks because I was talking about that. So let's see what they're called. They're called the I'm Ecstatic socks. I think I have made 3 pairs now of these socks, and they are some of my favourite socks. I've knit pairs using, again, that same combination of a mohair and the chain fibre fjord held together. And I love how they've held up, they feel nice, no complaints at all. And I love this pattern as well because it's kind of like a refresher, like it's like a breathing space. It's mindful, but it's also, you know, keeps your attention every now and then, because it is cables, but it's like the most simple kind of cables you'll ever do. And it's a bit of a chunkier sock because it's a sock weight held with the mohair, so it's on slightly larger needles, which again helps it sort of move off the needles faster, and it sort of gives you that instant gratification faster as well than, you know, a fingering weight sock. I don't know what colours I'm going to make the next pair of these socks out of. Again, I've got quite a lot of random scraps, so I really need to dig around in my stash to see if I've got any quantities of mohair that will be enough. I don't know if I particularly want to do a scrappy, like a scrappy yarn version of these. I feel like maybe it isn't the best pattern for that, but I would be open to the idea of using a different colour for like the heel and the toe maybe, and maybe not the cuff because it starts straight out as cables, like there's not ribbing at the top, and maybe I could add ribbing at the top, I don't know, just throwing ideas out there at the moment. But I'll definitely be able to, you know, cobble something together and make another pair of these. Again, I've used them before as like sort of like a palette cleanser, and I feel like they're perfect for that, and I'm probably gonna do exactly the same thing. I think I'm on a real, like, I've got kind of the itch to knit jumpers at the moment, so I feel like hopefully finishing Karina's Southside Sweater, I'm still gonna feel like jumping into another jumper pattern after that. I'm hoping I don't, you know, have to do like a little palette cleanser in between, but we'll see. But probably after that jumper I'll need one before I cast on another jumper, and that is when I will make another one of these. So let's jump back to jumpers, and my next jumper knitting, not pattern, what's the word? It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's a plan. My next jumper knitting plan is the Badger and Bloom by Anne Vinsel. I've made this pattern twice before, and I love both versions that I made. My first version, let me think what it was made out of, I can't remember. I feel like it was Drops Flora held with maybe the Drops mohair, I think. And then my second version was made out of 2 strands of alpaca silk by Drops. Yeah, I loved both versions, but both of them were kind of maybe a bit too oversized. Like, I loved the oversized nature of them, but I feel like for a circular yoke, I feel like maybe super oversized isn't the way to go. So I ended up gifting my first version, which I'll put pictures of all the versions on screen. I ended up gifting this version to my mum, and I I kept my other version, the more colourful alpaca silk version, but I accidentally put it in the washing machine on the wrong cycle and it felted to be about this big, which I was a bit gutted about because I loved throwing that on over things and it was super oversized. So it was also a really lovely fabric. So I was kind of gutted about that, and I was kind of like, it was hard to see that first version go as well, but it didn't fit me the way I wanted it to, and I knew that my mum would get a lot more wear out of it. So I was happy to do that, but I always knew that I wanted to make another version that fit me a bit better. I do not have the yarn for this one, so that's one that I would have to buy yarn for, and I don't really know what I would go for. This is kind of, I'm going to ask some advice here, because I've seen a lot of people use unspun yarn for that pattern, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people use unspun yarn for it, like the loopy. Is it let loopy that's unspun? I can't, or floater loopy, I don't know. Anyway, and I asked for some mancha loopy. Is that how you say it? I don't know how you say that. I asked for some of that yarn for my Christmas last year and I got it, and it feels such a special yarn, and I've been saving it for a project. I don't think I would knit it in this project. I think I'm going to knit it in its own, like, plain, just using that yarn jumper. So I kind of want to ask, have any of you used mancha loopy? And also, how did you, like, so I think I've looked at like hundreds of different projects using that yarn on Ravelry, and a lot of people use less yardage or meterage for the same jumper if they were to knit it out of different yarn, if you know what I mean. Like, say if I was to knit this jumper using a non oh my gosh, I'm not explaining this well. If I was to make this jumper out of, you know, the fingering and the lace sweep, and I was to use, let's say, 1,200 meters, if I was to knit this same jumper out of unspun yarn, would I use the same amount of meterage? Because what I have seen as a pattern, like a pattern, not the right what I've seen as like a common theme is that people use less yardage if they use unspun yarn for the same project. Is that the case? Because I asked for a sweater quantity, and it would have been a sweater quantity, but my mum's cat got into one of the cakes and they really tore it up, and I feel like it's gonna be near impossible to salvage enough yarn from that cake to still have it as a comfortable sweater quantity for me. So my question is, can I get away with still going ahead and trying to make a jumper out of it, even though it's slightly less meterage than a sweater quantity? That's my question. Hopefully that makes sense, and I'm hoping that somebody has knit with that yarn, or maybe an unspun yarn, and has had that experience, who can guide me a little bit. But bringing it back to the Badger in Bloom, I would love to make that out of unspun yarn. I've yet to knit anything with unspun yarn, but one of you very kindly sent over some of your stash yarn, and a couple of like bits were the loopy unspun yarn. I think it's Pluto loopy, and I knit up some swatches with it and I kind of fell in love with it. The mancha loopy is definitely softer, so I think I don't know, I'd have to make some swatches of both and sort of wear it here for a while and see if I can tolerate the loopy one, or if I would maybe get the mancha loopy one for this. I don't know, we'll have to see, because this is usually my most sensitive area, and so I don't know if I'd necessarily be able to tolerate it here. I could tolerate it on my hands probably, for sure, or something like that, but maybe not here, but again I'd have to try it out. But yeah, I would love to knit this in an unspun yarn, but segueing off of that, I would love it if people had any advice for the unspun yarn. Okay, I'm gonna wrap that up there because I very much kind of confused myself, and hopefully I didn't confuse you as well. So I have two more things on my plans. One is a cowl and one is another pair of socks. So let's start with a cowl first. Now I know that I've had this on my plans, it must be for like 3 years. I feel like that's not an exaggeration because I've had this, like, this pattern is like right at the beginning of my Ravelry library, so I must have bought it quite a long time ago. But it is the Spiritual Guardian Cowl by Cat Weaver, and I've adored this for so long, and I wanted to knit it for so long, but I've just not got around to it. And I think I'm a bit intimidated by the cables, and I don't, like, I love stockinette and I love texture as well, and I have done cables in the past. Like, I'll definitely be able to do it. Like, it'll be a challenge, but it'll not be impossible. But like, going back to like that, my favourite thing's knitwear jumper that was kind of mesh and it was an easy lace, but I kind of got bored of it. I got burnt out with it. Like, I don't want that to happen with this. So I've kind of been putting it off, but I really want to get around to knitting it this year because I just love it. And I think it's like, I really fell in love with it because of her like main version that she's used as like the cover picture of the Ravelry like project. I just love it and it looks so comfy, and yeah, it just looks perfect, and I feel like I would get a lot of wear out of it. And I think like I don't need many more stockinette like scarf. Like, I've got a couple of Sophie scarves that I wear regularly, and like those are my go-to. I'm wanting to knit the Berlin scarf, which is again going to be another stockinette scarf. So I feel like I need to kind of start broadening my collection, and I feel like this is a good way to go. But again, I've been putting it off, and I know I shouldn't. I've also not got yarn for this in stash, so I would have to buy yarn for this, which is another like stepping stone that I would have to get to. So it's another thing that sort of put me off. I've just never bought any yarn for it in the past, which again I would need to do to knit it now. But that's kind of, I mean, there's not really much else to say about that apart from the fact that I've wanted to knit this for so long, I've just never got around to it for some reason. So yeah, and moving on to my final plan, which again is another pair of socks, and it's another pair of socks that I've knit before a couple of times, and it's the Lima Socks by Suzanne Muller again, and I love these socks. These again are some of my favourite socks. I love the construction, it just itches a scratch in my brain that I love, and I love the fit on my foot. I feel like it really accommodates my high instep really well. It's rib, so it really fits like your leg and foot really nicely as well. And yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about this pattern. I love it. I love the finished objects that I've made using this pattern. I wear them all the time. My most favourite socks at the moment are the Lima socks and the I'm Ecstatic socks. I wear those, if you were to say like what socks do you want to wear today, it would be between those two. So yeah, I feel like you probably can have enough socks, but can you? You know? So yeah, probably gonna make another one of those. I've not got yarn specifically for that. In the past I've used Drops Nord, which is one of their sock yarns. It's a non-superwash sock yarn that's got alpaca wool and nylon, I think. I've not got any of that in stash at the moment, but I would like to knit another pair out of that yarn because I think it paired really nicely. I like the way it's warm. It definitely pulls a lot, but it's soft and it keeps my feet warm. And I definitely like the non-superwash socks at the moment. I do not hand wash any of my garments. I put them all in the washing machine on a wool cycle. I've never had an issue with that at all. On the wool cycle, I did put two jumpers on a non-wool cycle on my washing machine and that ruined them. But on the wool cycle, I've never had an issue. Nanuka's crying to get in. I'm gonna go and get him. Say hi! Oh, he wants to cause mayhem in here. No! No! So, yeah, I guess that wraps up my realistic plans for this winter. I hope maybe that's sparked some inspiration for you, or maybe, you know, it's caused you, not caused, it's a really weird way to put it. Maybe it's like made you think, what patterns do I have in my library that, you know, I'd like to knit that aren't necessarily the new ones or the most, you know, the newest patterns that everybody's talking about. Yeah, maybe it's made you go, oh, maybe I'll knit that. So yeah, now he's causing mayhem, so I feel like that's my cue to go and play with them probably. And Kiska's gonna jump up now as well. Kiska! The cats are taking over this room now. So thank you for watching. Amazing. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye! Say bye!